Does holiday time with your family feel a bit like a trip to crazy town? No matter how far you've come or how much you've grown, there's something about being around family that can throw you right back into childhood survival mode and leave you feeling slimed by the whole experience. Ultimately, my objective for this video is to help you be true to yourself and feel good about who you are in the midst of it, no matter what's coming your way. Hi, I'm Snakard, and on this channel I help entrepreneurs and transformational leaders like you to own your power and set yourself free from any barriers to your success so that you can make the major impact you're here to make while loving life every step of the way and without ever having to give up what matters most to you. Today we're diving into how to handle your family during the holidays. And while you may be hoping I'm going to share some awesome Jedi mind trick on how to make them be different than they are, the first thing you got to get is they're going to be the way they're going to be and they're going to do what they're going to do. This video is about how you can feel good about you and how you respond to it no matter what may be going down. Nothing activates our survival mechanisms the same way family does. Our number one job as humans is to survive. And how do we do that? By not getting kicked out of the cave, which means not getting kicked out of the clan, which ultimately means not getting kicked out of the family. Even though you're long past needing them to survive, there's a certain loyalty that we have to family, even if you have very different values and live very different lives. Whether you want to admit it or not, our human wiring has you want their approval, their love, and their acceptance. Even now as an adult, and even if you think it could never actually happen, you want to feel like you belong with your family. Like these are your people. Like they see you and get you for who you really are and not who you had to pretend to be. But for many of us, no matter how much you may have grown and evolved beyond these survival mechanisms, when you step back into that family space, the old dynamics kick right back in. All those feelings and sensations from when you were 5 or 8 or 12 come rushing back again. And whether you're conscious to it or not, to some extent, it throws you right back into that reactive, fight for your life survival mode. So, how can you respond to what's happening in a way that feels genuine, empowered, and aligned with the real you? Meaning not shutting yourself down or selling yourself out, while also not being the flame-throwing annihilator? Well, you can start by identifying what your expectations are. What do you already know is going to happen? The stuff you've relived 1,000 times and you can set your watch by. Like for instance, that 5 minutes after you walk in, your dad is going to ask if you need some money. This is a legit example from a 7-figure earner friend of mine whose parents still ask her regularly if she needs some money because they just cannot fathom that running an online business could be financially profitable and stable in a way that she would actually be able to take care of herself. Or maybe you have more dramatic expectations of your family, like perhaps that your sister is going to pull some 3-year-old tantrum, pitching a fit about how nobody respects her and treats her like an adult. Now, I want to be cautious here not to say that just because these things have happened previously, that they really will be happening again. There's a lot of your own expectation that goes into this, but that's really what we're getting at here. So just check in on what you already expect will happen and also what you're hoping will or will not happen, which by the way falls under expectations as well. Because even though you think of it as that you're hoping that something will or will not happen, it's really that you're expecting that it's going to go a certain way. We tend to think that what we expect is just the way it is, or perhaps the way it should be, but that we don't get much say in it. Kind of like, are we expecting any rain today? Ah, yes, I expect the rain will be starting around 2 p.m. this afternoon. We live like it either will happen or it will not, and it has nothing to do with us. But that's not really how it works. Not in relationships anyway. Because the thing is, we humans love to be right. We love to be right. Even about the stuff that we say that we don't want to be right about it, we still love to be right about it. So whatever you go in expecting is most likely what you will get. More on that in just a minute. Next, set an intention before a family event of what you want to create. You're probably amazing at doing this professionally, but you might think it's hopeless with your family. Really, it works exactly the same. Setting an intention is a great way to take the reins and feel like you are driving the outcome instead of feeling like you just need to brace for whatever is going to come your way. And it's a great way to get aligned with what really matters to you and use that intention as a grounding point to keep checking in on whether you're moving towards it or away from it. And then shift is needed if you see that you're moving yourself away from it. Now here's a biggie. Throughout the event, especially if you're feeling hooked or like you're reacting or things are just generally going downhill, distinguish between what's really happening versus your story or interpretation about what's happening. If you haven't seen my recent video on how to stop being triggered, definitely check that one out. It's linked in the description below. Here's a brief explanation built into an example of how you can do this so that instead of reacting, you can choose a response that's aligned with your intention. I have a client who was constantly compared to her older cousin growing up. He was valedictorian, got straight A's, was the total superachiever that excelled at everything. She did pretty well, but not the same level of super achievement that he strove for, largely because she pulled herself out of that game. And yet, she's always felt like she was beneath him, or at least was seen by the rest of the family as being beneath him, as being less than him. Imagine she goes to a family party and someone comes up to her and says, "Oh my gosh, did you hear about your cousin? He just got ranked by Forbes as a rising star." Through her existing expectations about the family, meaning that she thinks that they're still always comparing her to him and that they see her as never measuring up, she's going to interpret this statement as yet another person in the family rubbing his accomplishments in her face, saying to her once again, "You suck, you lose, you are not enough." When really, what happened was that someone just said, "Hey, did you hear about your cousin?" and shared the news. That person may have been genuinely excited for this cousin who made the Forbes ranking and may have not been making any comparison whatsoever between her and him. They were just passing something exciting along. Now, this same scenario could play out a million different ways, but let's look at just one alternate ending. If she goes into this event grounded in the awesomeness that she knows that she is, with a clear intention to own her awesomeness and stand firmly in it, not in a way like she needs to prove anything or a chip on her shoulder, but just her knowing within herself, "I'm freaking amazing, and it doesn't matter what happened when we were kids. I know I've got my stuff together, and I have an amazing life that I'm happy with, and it's all good. It makes no difference what they say about him." If she goes in with that unshakable foundation of remembering who she is, no matter what anyone else says, this story could have a very different ending. She could actually feel happy for her cousin without feeling like this statement about his success is a knife in her side. But ultimately, that's up to her. Just like how you respond, both internally and externally, is ultimately up to you. It's all about your point of view. And as such, it's a really awesome opportunity to see what lenses you're looking through that are creating that view. If you're looking through the lens of pained comparison and not enoughness, that's what you're going to see. When you identify it, you can choose whether to keep that lens or to change it. And changing the lens will change the outcome. But again, it's all up to you. The only reason we ever react or get hooked or get triggered is because something occurs as a threat of some kind. It always goes back to that survival wiring. But the real you, the amazingly awesome, powerful, limitless spiritual you, cannot be threatened and cannot be harmed. So one of the best things you can do to be unshakable, knowing that any perceived threat is really just an illusion, is to get grounded in who you really are, to own your awesome divine power, and to stand firmly rooted in it. Click on the link on your screen or in the description below to access a free resource to help you stay rooted in your power. It includes a restroom refuge meditation that's just 3 minutes long. So if you're at a family event and just need a minute to get grounded again, you can take refuge in the restroom, listen to this meditation, and be ready to go back out armed with the strength you need to face the world. You can get it at spencersnakard.com/grounded. Be sure to click subscribe while you're here, and I'll see you in the next one.